Hi, good evening, everyone. Thanks for attending the meeting tonight of the Cabinet held today, Wednesday, the 19th of January 2022. For those that don't know me, my name is Councillor Paul Foster. I'm the leader of the Council. I'm the Chair of the Cabinet. Councillor Mick Titherington is the Vice Chair and Deputy Leader. Members of the Cabinet are present here with us in the Civic Centre. Also present with us are our officers as required to support the meeting. All the members of the Council present in the Civic Centre should please switch on their microphone when they wish to speak, and please do switch them off when you're finished to avoid any feedback. Members of the Council that have dialed in via Microsoft Teams are asked to keep their microphone on mute, and please use the raise your hand function to indicate that you wish to speak at the appropriate time, but please again do mute your microphone after you have spoken. Reports were presented by the relevant portfolio holder, after which I will bring them into Cabinet. Once Cabinet has considered the report, I will then invite comments from other members of the Council. After that, all members of the Council have been invited to ask any questions of the Cabinet on the agenda items. Any members of the public in attendance will also be invited to speak. Individual members of the public will be restricted to speaking to a total of 5 minutes. Please note that this meeting is recorded and is being live streamed on YouTube. The web link for this is displayed on the agenda for the meeting. Thank you, and I will now formally open the meeting. Before I do proceed, however, please note that there is a change to the order of the agenda. Agenda item 11, Shared Customer Service and Revenues Benefits Review, will be moved up the agenda to item 8 before we move to exclude the press and public, as the main report is to be considered in public and only the appendix contains the exempt information. Thank you. And we would ask that we're briefed on that next time and not just added in on the agenda. Anyway, moving on, apologies for absence. All members of the Cabinet and officers are here, so there are no apologies received. Declarations of interest. If a member has a pecuniary interest, they are requested to leave the meeting completely. The member can rejoin the meeting following the completion of the item in question. Do any members of the Cabinet have any interests to declare? No. Good. Agenda item 3, minutes of the last meeting. We have the minutes of the last meeting in front of us for approval. Can I please have a seconder? Thanks, Mick. Any questions on the minutes from members of Cabinet? No. Any questions from members not on Cabinet? Councillor Ogilvie.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just in relation to page 6, the item regarding the Youth Council, it says that I would be given a written response. Just to say that I haven't received any written response as yet. Having said that, Councillor Trafford did give a verbal update on the night, and I'm quite happy now to wait for the formal report, assuming that it's not too long before it comes to Council. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Alan. It's you will get your written update, Alan. It's just literally work in progress. But if you want any further updates in the interim, we can provide those. Councillor Bilinski-Gelder will provide those if they're needed. It has been noted. Okay. Any other questions from members not on Cabinet? Councillor Walton.
Thank you, Chair. Mine is on page 8, item 72. It was when I was invited to put my views in writing about the proposed notice of the proposed decision at that particular time. This item sort of has generally been brought up at scrutiny meetings, so that I know there's been the impact of COVID, but there seems to be rather a lot of urgent and waivers. So I asked the Chief Executive to get me a list of all the urgent and waivers that have taken place since May 2019, and I'm awaiting the results. Thank you.
So we'll get that to you, Karen. And again, what I would say, and you did mention this when you started speaking there, that there has been a lot of pressure created by the pandemic. You know, some think the pandemic is over. I would argue it's certainly not. but there was, and also please do remember that the executive powers for the council were changed during the pandemic as well. So I think the report that you're going to receive is disproportionate. You're absolutely right to ask for it, but I think we do need to take a view in it on where we actually are at the moment. Councillor Tomlinson.
I can't help but agree with the point you just made. You know, the law was changed to allow these kind of decisions to be made in a timely fashion. What you won't find at South Ribble Borough Council is decisions made giving contracts to our mates. I'm pretty sure that all the decisions that were made here were done in the appropriate fashion and will stand up to scrutiny. So I welcome seeing the list.
Okay, thanks, Matthew. Any other comments on that? No. Any more questions from anyone? No. Okay, so I propose that the minutes are accepted. Mick's seconded that. We're all in favour? Good, that's unanimous. Agenda item 4 is the notice of executive decisions and the Cabinet Forward Plan. And again, I remind members that the Cabinet Forward Plan is accessible via the web link on the agenda, and we do send out hard copies as late as we can. And the reason for this is this literally is updated on a daily basis. Members of the Cabinet will note there is quite a substantial amount of business within the executive decisions and the forward plan for us to consider, particularly over the next month or two. We're busy, as we expect to be. Any questions or comments from anybody? We're asked to note this. No. Any members not on Cabinet? No. Councillor Walton.
Thank you, Chair. It's just a comment really that on page 13 to 16 of the 13 items, 7 are exempt, and on page 17 to 41 of the 49 items, 48 are exempt. It does seem rather a lot of exempt items, and the list is, I understand the reasons why, it's just a comment really. Thank you.
It's an interesting comment that, Karen, because I don't know whether you're complaining or not. But the fact of the matter is all those decisions are commercially sensitive and we are not legally permitted to share that information. However, if it can be shared, we will share it. But as Councillor Tomlin said before, it's open and transparent and all decisions are available for all members to view at all times.
It just seems that it's rather a lot on one of the forward plan just at this particular time. And I understand, again, that there are sensitive items on it, but it just seems rather a lot for the whole report.
It's just, I'll bring the monitoring officer in a second. The reason that there's a lot on there is because A, we're busy, there's a lot of business that we're getting through, and secondly, it's the award of contracts, and contracts can't be awarded in public because it's unfair. Monitoring officer.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think if you just check as well, I'm singing. Move that. These have been entered onto the register because they follow on from the procurement strategy for the IT services. So they're a lot grouped together because the strategy was approved. So these are a consequence of the approval of that strategy.
Right, okay, so Cabinet's been asked to note the forward plan and the notice of executive decisions. We're happy to note it. Good, thank you. So agenda item 5 is the nomination of the Mayor-elect and Deputy Mayor-elect for 2022-23, and I am presenting this item. Cabinet colleagues will note that along with nominating the Mayor-elect for the next municipal year and the Deputy Mayor-elect, we've also discussed at length over the last 18 months the consideration of bringing in a protocol for the selection of the Mayor. I remind members it got very political during the previous administration, and since, if you remember, from 2007, there's been 14 mayors within the borough of South Ribble, 11 of which have been Conservative, 2 of which would be a Labour, which is now one of them, Councillor Jane Bell, and we've had 1 Lib Dem, which has caused an awful lot of angst within the council because the position of Mayor is apolitical. It isn't supposed to be political. So what we've looked to do is, if you look from on page 45 of the agenda pack, there's a protocol that we're going to propose to council is adopted from next year, from May next year, so the appointment of the deputy mayor from next year onwards follows this protocol, and basically, as the paper says, the protocol is that it's the longest serving member of the council is offered the mayoralty, and it is then switched annually between the different political parties. And that's the proposals that we have in front of us to consider, as I say, and send forward to council for adoption. Councillor David Howarth is our nomination for the mayor-elect from 2022-23, and the deputy mayor-elect, which will come from the Labour group, is going to be Councillor Chris Lomax from Walton Dale. The paper also makes it clear that it is the administration's intent that next year's deputy mayor would be selected from the Conservative group with the new protocol in place. So they're the proposals that we're placing forward. Recommendations are there. We put this forward to council, the annual meeting of the council. Can I have a seconder, and can I also have any comments? Councillor Mick Titherington.
Well, I'm happy to second it. I mean, I think such a paper is long overdue. Indeed, I mean, when I was the mayor, I think I was the one mayor within sort of 10 years, I did attempt to put forward a paper similar to what's contained within this paper this evening, because I thought that there had been, if not abuse, there had been misuse of the selection of the mayor over that number of years. And I think, in the last couple of years, since 2019, there has been an attempt to redress that, to bring a bit of balance into it. So it's now appropriate that going forward, that we do adopt a fair and objective criteria for the selection of the mayor, which, as you say, should be, I mean, it is the civic leader in the borough, so it really should not be on a political basis. So fully welcome it, fully support it, glad to second it.
Thanks, Councillor Titherington. The other point I wish to reiterate to Cabinet as well is we were intending, if you remember, that the deputy mayor-elect of this next municipal year was going to be a member of the Conservative group. However, we had the extremely unfortunate position that due to COVID, we're one mayor down on the municipal cycle of 4 years, because Councillor Hancock and Councillor Bell have both had to serve an additional 6 months each as mayor. Hence, we've only had 3 mayors in a 4-year period. So we'll have to introduce this from next year onwards. Councillor Tomlinson.
Thanks, and I welcome this paper as well, and I think it will take a lot of the unnecessary heat out of the nominations for the mayoralty. It's a long time since I was the mayor of this borough, but I do reflect that the preceding mayor was John Hesketh from the Conservative Party, and the succeeding mayor, the one after me was Dorothy Foster from the Liberal Democrat group, and I forged a friendship with John in the year that I was his deputy, and similarly with Councillor Dorothy Foster in the year that I was the mayor. We worked really well together, and I just think that putting this down in paper, getting it through council, everybody will understand how you become the mayor. Everybody will understand when their chance will come, and I think that the vast majority of members will welcome that certainty, and I look forward to it being adopted.
Thanks, Matthew. And as well, within the policy, you'll note that if the timing isn't right for a particular senior member as well, then they can pass over until a year or two later until that political group's turn is with us again. So any other questions? Phil O'Neill, no. Any questions or comments from members not on Cabinet? Councillor Brotherton.
Just some confirmation. Am I right in thinking that it's based on the longest serving, but then it swaps political groups every year? Is that correct? So it'd be Conservative, Labour, Liberal, that sort of every year, and then it's the longest serving member of that particular group. Okay, thank you.
That's correct, Damien. Yes, that's the plan.
Councillor Hesketh is on.
Councillor John Hesketh.
Thank you. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you, John.
I'd just like to say that during my year, or when I was chosen as mayor, in actual fact, it was a Labour administration, and I was very thankful for that. Thank you very much.
Thanks, John. Any other comments from any members not in cabinet? Okay, so just to reiterate, the mayor-elect is Councillor David Howarth, the deputy mayor-elect is Councillor Chris Lomax, and the proposal that the nominations moving forward from the deputy mayor 2023-24 adopt this policy, and I understand that we are sending this now to council for adoption, Gary, yeah? So I've proposed, Councillor Mick Titherington has seconded. All in favour? Good, that's unanimous, thank you. Okay, agenda item 6 is fees and charges for 2022-23, and it is to be introduced by the Cabinet Member for Finance, Property and Assets, Councillor Matthew Tomlinson. Matthew.
Thank you, and I'll try and be brief, Leader. The report sets out the current position around the range of fees and charges which we currently use. I'm sure some members will find some of that information more interesting than others, but it is all there for everybody to have a look at. The recommendation is we note the current level of fees and charges and that we agree a freeze for the coming financial year. And with that, I'll look for a seconder.
I'm happy to second that, Matthew. Good proposals. I think as you say, the cost of living crisis that our communities faced with at the moment is exceptionally challenging. I think it's only right and proper that we do freeze these. I think inflation's just running at just under 6%, I think, at the moment. Big tax rises coming in April as well. So this is only the right and proper thing to do. Any comments for anyone? Any questions for Matthew? Any questions from members not in cabinet? Good. So just want to reconfirm the recommendations, Matt, if you can, please.
I do need to get the paper ones as well because I don't move around these agendas very well. Do you not mind?
Okay, so the recommendations to Cabinet is to note the current levels of budgeted fees and charges and issues specific to these. Recommendation 2 is to agree and freeze the fees and charges for the 2022-2023 financial year. I think that means you should say municipal year, should it not? Or is it either or? Yes. And then to approve the full list of fees and charges for uploading onto the council website. Councillor Tomlinson proposed that. I've seconded it. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you. Agenda item 7 is the Birch Avenue Playground refurbishment and budget, and the Cabinet Member for Finance, Properties and Assets, Councillor Matthew Tomlinson, to lead.
Thank you. Members will recall we agreed a budget for this playground, the 10th one in our refurbishment programme. This is slightly different than some of the ones we've done in the past. The ones that we've done so far have been ones that haven't had any investment in for 20 years plus. And members will be aware that on average we're spending between 150 and £200,000 on each of those to bring them up to standard. Birch Avenue, I think it's 2005, the last time any significant money was spent on it, so it is slightly more modern. And when we brought this forward, we hoped actually to spend a bit less, so we set a budget of £70,000. Having taken forward a public consultation and listened to the views of that consultation, it's quite clear that some of the equipment that was installed in 2005 is not as popular with children and parents as we thought, and there's more of a cry really from local residents for more investment than we originally suggested. And also, as part of preparation for the works that we wanted to do, it's become quite clear that the surface that this equipment is on is no longer fit for purpose. And really, if we don't spend money on it now, we will be spending money on it in the next 3 to 5 years to keep it safe. So it seems to me that if we're going to be spending money on the surfacing in 3 to 5 years to keep it safe, we might as well do it now while we're doing the full upgrade. So the request of Cabinet is, and of Council, I think this will go to Council, is to an uplift of the original budget of £75,000 to a total of £145,000, being an uplift of £70,000, with the breakdown of where we foresee spending that money in the report. So with that, Leader, the recommendation to Cabinet is that, subject to Council approving the changes, the refurbishment works as detailed in the body of the report be approved, and that recommendations made to Council to approve an increase of £70,000 in the capital programme.
Thanks, Matthew. 10th one, hey, that's really... Oh, go on.
I should add, say, I have discussed this with the local members, and you won't be surprised to hear they're fully in support of the uplift to the budget.
I bet they are. It's good as well, because it's all the local members were heavily involved in the consultation with the local community, and as you say, what is really pleasing at the moment, Matthew, as you drive around the borough, is seeing all the playgrounds hugely in use that we have refurbished, and all the other ones that are in build as well. And as you say, for reasons unbeknown, the council stopped any refurbishment in 2007 of the playgrounds. It was the previous Labour administration, in conjunction with our friends in the Liberal Democrat group, that had previously and historically installed a lot of these playgrounds. And it's good to see that the huge investment that we've made over the last 2.5, 3 years, and long may it continue. As you say, we get a huge amount of positive feedback from the local community on the work that's been undertaken. I know the local members, where the works have been concluded and completed, love seeing the families and kids out there using the facilities. So it's great, and it's great for South Ribble. So, yeah, good. I'll second that. Mick, any comments?
Well, I'm just wholeheartedly supported. I mean, I think it suggests a couple of things. First of all, is that when we go out to consultation, we do consult. We listen to what people have got to say. And secondly, I think the fact that if we continue to patch it up in the way that was originally suggested, or that the way that we discovered as the work progressed, I mean, it would be nonsense. So, from a point of view, from a practical point of view, from a financially sound point of view, and from meeting the aspirations of the residents' point of view, I wholeheartedly support it.
Thanks, Mick. Any other comments from anyone on Cabinet? Any member not on Cabinet? Councillor Walton.
Yes, thank you, Chair. It's just concerning the consultation. It's interesting to say that the consultation has been listened to, and residents proposed different alternative equipment. Would it be possible for us to see the results of the consultation? Because, it would help us to inform us perhaps for future refurbishment that would be taking place.
I'm sure the headlines can be shared with you. I don't know what you want to see, Councillor Walton. Do you want to see every single consultation response, or do you want to see? It
would just be nice to see what the consultation, the equipment that the residents would like to see, and perhaps what they wouldn't like to see.
Yeah, I'm sure it's not a secret. I'm sure you're more than welcome to let you have it.
Councillor Phil Smith.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm sure everybody will be supportive of this. I think some of the playgrounds certainly do want refurbishing and redoing, the ones that have been around a long time. I just point out that what you say is not quite right, because in our 1920 budget there was, I think, 4 playgrounds in there to be redone, including a huge amount of money to be spent on Warden Park in the play area there. So that I think we'll all be supportive of playgrounds and the refurbishment of playgrounds, Chair. Thank you.
Phil, did you say 1920 then?
Well, I think I might have done. I think I might have slipped of the tongue. It's obviously an age thing. I haven't pointed out some of your age things either, but
I remember it. That's what I was going to say.
Well, it's a long-term memory, you see.
Right, good. Yeah, I get your support for the 10 that we've delivered over the last 3 years, Phil. It was important that it was a priority of the administration to deliver parks for our communities. Any other comments from members not on Cabinet? No? No, right. So Matthew's proposed the recommendations that we send this to Council for endorsing, and then increase the budget by £70,000. Matthew's proposed that. I'm happy to second. Are we all in favour? Okay, thank you. That goes off to Council. Right, now change to the agenda. We're now bringing forward under agenda item 8 is the shared customer services and revenues and benefits review, and this is the Community Social Justice and Wealth Building Portfolio Holder, Councillor Aniela Belinsky-Gelder. Aniela.
Thank you, Chair. So this report originates from the Shared Services Committee and sets out for Cabinet to decide the recommendations for the service restructure and service development plan. The report forms part of the Phase 2 of Shared Services Programme and includes bringing together core functions for customer services, housing benefits, revenue collections. For Chorley, it also includes waste management, planning, building control, land charges, licensing and bereavement, but that is separate to South Ribble. That isn't included in the same departments. The review ensures continuation of an excellent customer service experience and fair and equal access to services. In terms of the wording around approach, I'm happy with the broad aims and principles in as much as we maintain services and in some cases improve resilience, but I will keep a close eye on what it means to work towards a single operating model in all functions, as mentioned in paragraph 12. Although the services will be organised back of house by officers operating the services, political decisions will be retained, and if we in South Ribble would like to see a slight variation on service provision to Chorley, I will ensure we receive the service that we need. I'd like to make it clear that South Ribble retains its full sovereignty in terms of services and service provision, and ultimately this Cabinet and full Council decide how services operate on behalf of the residents in South Ribble. However, in saying that, South Ribble and Chorley Borough Council can use this as an opportunity to share ideas, and as we can see in the report, there are opportunities for learning from both councils. There's a review scheduled for 12 months after the restructure, and as with the review of the community hubs, I can ensure that this review will take place and we'll learn as much as we possibly can from the process. Overall, there will be more staff, so 90 across both councils. South Ribble currently have 35, I think, to tend to residents' concerns, and in addition, the new structure will allow calls to go through what were previously considered back office staff, who are actually experts in council tax, housing benefits and other specialised areas. The new staffing model enables greater flexibility to match the resourcing to residents' demands and is designed to reduce the number of times any one person may need to call the council, hopefully dealing with all the issues in one go. There are a proposed 6 apprenticeship posts to be created to support the service, all costed and to be paid a living wage regardless of age, and this may be seen within the report. The restructure has seen staff consulted twice, proper HR policies have been followed and will continue to be followed. All comments from staff may be seen, but that's the redacted part of the report, I think. Very briefly, all staff will retain a role. Everyone will be slotted into a role. However, through the review, all staff have had the opportunity to express an interest in more than one role. There are some new supervisor roles available, which will involve more responsibility and an increase in pay, which will of course mean a proper interview and selection process. For staff which have expressed an interest in these roles, the processes will be fully transparent and overseen by HR. I'd like to emphasise point 47 of the report. All staff have a role within the new structure. And finally, as the Cabinet Member for Customer Services, it's extremely important to me to recognise the excellent work of the team throughout the COVID pandemic. Many of the staff have had to deal with some very, very sad and desperate issues from some residents, and the increase in telephone calls as requests from council have increased massively over the last 12 months. The staff have ensured that we have a positive, consistent and faithful face of South Ribble Council, and I feel the Cabinet should take this opportunity to say a huge thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Anya. I wholly endorse your comments that you've made there, and I'm more than happy to publicly thank the staff once again. They do a wonderful, wonderful job, and all through the pandemic they've been at the front line and they've never ever failed to deliver. And so, Gary, can you make sure, please, that you do pass our personal thanks on to the staff? So just so I've understood, Aniela, fully correctly here, we're saving cash, which is equivalent to about a 1% increase in council tax otherwise, with more staff opportunities and vacancies becoming available. We've got greater access to more members of the more members of staff for our community, and we've got a massively improved service, no redundancies, is what you're basically saying, in short. And we retain our sovereignty, as we always do. And it's unfortunate that we have to raise that, isn't it, every single time now, because of the comments, shall we say, from certain members of the council, the very public comments, and it was on election material as well, I seem to recall, that this was the shared services is a takeover by Chorley, and then we were going to have a unitary South Ribble and Chorley council, and possibly even going with Preston, they're now saying. And I can categorically say, and this has been filmed and this will be repeated, that is a categorical lie. It is totally and utterly untrue. The shared services are back of house functions being shared across Chorley and South Ribble for the benefits of our local communities. And this is yet another example of working in a very, very positive, clever way to enhance the service to our customers, our residents, and to keep the burden of tax down on our local community. And it's an absolute win-win. And I know what you say, Aniela, it's this council that make decisions, it's this cabinet that make decisions, it's the shared service joint committee that put recommendations forward to us. And anyone that says otherwise is lying to the residents of South Ribble and Chorley. I will make that clear to them. I can confirm to colleagues on Cabinet that the unions have been heavily involved in the consultations. I can confirm I've met the unions personally and discussed this with them. I know the Chief Executive and the Deputy Chief Executive and Azim have all met with the unions on a number of occasions, and the unions aren't offering any pushback on this now within the report, and I thank the officers for the engagement with the unions, but I also thank the unions for their positive approach to the shared services. And when you look at the survey, the staff survey, particularly around the shared services, there's a very high level of contentment of the staff that work in that service, and they're all on improved terms and conditions as well, which is good. So I'm happy, Aniela, to support and endorse the recommendations that you have in front of us, and we'll open up to Cabinet for any questions or queries that anyone may have. Mick?
Well, first of all, I mean, I want to add my thanks to the contribution that the people in Gateway and other staff have made, because I've seen firsthand some of the really grave and traumatic issues that they've had to deal with throughout the pandemic. You know, I found out more about what they'd had to deal with when I did the mental health first aid course, which was, there was a number of Gateway staff who were on that, and it was humbling to realise just what they were, and you know, staff generally have to deal with. Well, I mean, when you look at, so you know, I had my support to those comments, but I think when you're looking at sort of any change or any proposal for change, any review, I mean, I think there's possibly, you know, three things that you've got to do with that. First thing is, will it improve service delivery? The second thing is, will it be an efficient use of resources? And thirdly, does it provide value for money? I mean, and looking at, and I suppose the fourth thing is that if you're going to manage change, is to ensure that it is managed properly. And I think the other fundamental principles is that where are we at the moment? Where do we want to be? And how do we get there? And I think, from the reports that you've made and I've heard from, senior management, is that the unions have been consulted, there has been individuals have been consulted, and I think it does meet the criteria that I've just previously outlined. So, yeah, happy to support it, and I think the residents of South Ribble will see the benefits of it.
Thanks, Nick. And yeah, just to be clear as well, it wasn't a fait accompli with the unions, as well as the unions always do. They push hard. They push very hard for the staff, as they should absolutely do. And as I say, the chief executive and the deputy chief executive have held numerous meetings with the unions and got us to a position where we're in agreement, which is pleasing. Any other comments from members on cabinet? No. Any comments or questions from anyone, members not on cabinet? Councillor Walton.
Thank you, Chair. I've just a comment about page 22 of the report about working patterns, about the recommendations from the development plan. It's exactly the same as what was presented to shared services before Christmas, and it was brought up there to consider perhaps rephrasing this, because it said when post becomes vacant, there are new starters. They will be recruited on a full-time basis as standard. Flexible working requests will still be considered. That's for staff already appointed. Surely in this economic climate, we're trying to encourage anybody to come back to work. And I just think that this issue should be reconsidered a little, so that anybody who wants to come to work, whether they can work part-time or on limited hours, they should be encouraged to return to work. And so my question is, will that be considered in the future when there are new appointments being made?
So the answer to that, and it's the same answer as the Shared Services Committee provided as well, is that the policies are already in place for flexible working and supporting our staff. And they're the policies of this council, and the officers must recruit within the policies that we've agreed with the council. And so there's no change there, It's the flexible working policy is there, Karen, and all members of staff, whether they're in shared services, whether they're working directly outside of shared services, should I say as well, every single request is reviewed on its merits.
But it just say when post becomes vacant or there are new starters, they will be recruited on a full-time basis as standard.
All posts will be recruited as per the council's policies, existing extant policies. Any other questions? No. Right. Darren, nobody asking anything? No. Okay. So, Aniela, your recommendations to Cabinet, if you can just quickly, because it's an important decision, if you can quickly run those through those again.
The recommendations to Cabinet, the Executive Cabinet approve the following proposals. A, the proposed shared customer service restructure includes ERBS requests. B, the development of shared service as set out in the Service Development Plan. C, principles for flexible and multi-channel working, making best use of technology and automation, waste services. That's it.
Thank you. I've seconded those proposals. All those in favour? Good, that's unanimous. Thank you. Moving on then, we now need to exclude the press and public because we have two commercially sensitive updates to consider: the extra care scheme on West Paddock and the procurement strategy for the Leyland town deal. Therefore, I move the press and public be excluded for the remainder of the meeting. Do I have a seconder, please? Thanks. Councillor Titherington. All those in favour? Okay. So if anybody is watching in, hopefully you enjoyed the meeting and we'll see you next time.